understood by those who fired you, perhaps. I'm not here to speak for them, but this is how it was perceived. I'm telling you that everybody's a lot like Stewart. Jews control CNN. A lot of other people who run other networks are a lot like Stewart. Number two, that how could you say Jon Stewart is oppressed?
Let's go to number one.
Well, let's just...
Didn't say it, didn't mean it, and if you look at the full context of that conversation, from the beginning of the interview to that point, I had established throughout the entire conversation exactly what you and I have talked about today. It's insider versus outsider. I felt like I was an outsider, and I felt like everyone in this big giant media industry that I was in was an insider, and that they would always kind of look at me like, you don't really belong here.
They would look out for each other.
That's all. It had nothing
to do with his Jewishness.
Nothing to do with his Jewishness.
Had to do with his being an elitist.
Didn't even know he was Jewish when we were having that
so
conversation.
So what were you referring to? Not his Jewishness, but his what?
I felt at the time that Jon was elitist.
And he looked down at you. He was making fun of you. So in other words, you're saying, I'm telling you that everybody who runs CNN is a lot like Stewart. They are therefore
elitists.
Elitists who
tend to look down at people who are a little different.
Okay, who condescend to you because you're Hispanic?
Because of the whole package. Because I may not fit that which the media has always been. They're not bad people. They're not even doing it consciously. I just feel like sometimes when people are empowered, they have to work hard to look outside their power base to understand people who are perhaps not like them. That's all I was saying.
So a lot of other people that run all the networks are a lot like Stewart. What did that mean?
Elitist. That there's a tendency in our business for people who have been in the business for a long time to look for the same traits when they hire, and to not necessarily look at people who may be different. And that was my entire conversation. For 50 minutes, that's what we were talking about when we got to that point.
Okay. And then when you said the people in this country who are Jewish are an oppressed minority, like sort of give me a break kind of thing, what did that mean?
It meant that I was rash. It meant that I was wrong. It meant that I was being impertinent. And
you were saying he's fair game. So this guy says, oh, he's not fair game because he can't be a bigot because he's Jewish. And your response is, oh, come on. The Jews are suddenly an oppressed minority in America? Well, so let me ask you a question.
I was talking in currency, by the way, and that's very important. And I've learned a lot since I made that.
No, it's very important that you state your opinion, because your opinion may be something that I agree with or disagree with. I'll give you my opinion in a moment. But were you saying that, I'm sorry, the Jews are not an oppressed minority in America? So for him to hide behind that and say that he can't be a target because the Jews have suffered here, I'm sorry. Because people interpret that particular mention to mean that you thought the Jews are so powerful, they control everything. We were back to the protocols of the elders' design. That was the most offensive part of the comment. That's what got you into trouble, correct?
I didn't say that. Yes, it got me into trouble, but I didn't say it. I didn't mean it. I've never said it, and there's nothing in my history, in my past, or my actions that would lead someone to believe that I could think that.
Okay.
That's important.
So what did you mean by the phrase come on, the Jews aren't oppressed in America?
I meant don't use his religion as an excuse for what I believe he has said and done to me. That's all. Okay. Don't use that as an excuse. That's all I was saying.
Well, let me ask you this.
And it was a personal.
Let's be honest. Were you also saying, come on, the Jews have not suffered in America, they're successful. We Hispanics are suffering in America. Were you also saying that?
I mean, absolutely not. The Jews have suffered in America. Look, since this,
See, let me just say, with all due respect, now I think you're being a little bit disingenuous.
Okay. You said
because I happen to disagree with you now. I think you're going from extremes, Rick. And it's better if you speak your mind and you have an opportunity to be clear.
Well, but wait, let's be clear. When you say
the Jews have suffered significantly in America, have they? No. You're in a synagogue surrounded by Jews. Let me state categorically, my people have suffered more than any other nation in human history, in virtually every place on earth, save one. It's called America. Now, that doesn't mean there hasn't been anti-Semitism. There has been anti-Semitism. There have been quotas of Harvard, etc. But if you want to compare the Jewish experience to the African-American experience, for example, come on. No one brought us here in chains. We didn't have a 50% death rate in slave ships coming from Africa. We weren't subjected to Jim Crow laws. There was anti-Semitism, and there were Jews who suffered.
Let me restate my point. In currency, in right now, Rabbi, okay, perhaps, yes, you can certainly make the argument that they're empowered, they're strong, they're influential because they've worked hard and they've been creative and they deserve all the credit in the world for it. But I have gotten letters since this incident from a lot of people. I've gotten two types of letters, actually. First of all, I've gotten letters from people who really hate Jews, who've told me, way to go, Rick Sanchez. And, finally...
Those are the same guys that write to me.
Yeah.
And there are thousands.
No, and I shouldn't say this perhaps in a shul, but to them I say, go to hell. Because I'm not like you, I don't agree with you, I've never been like that in my life. But there's another kind of letter that's been more enlightening than I've received. One of them is from a colleague at CNN recently who said, I was touched by your story about your father, and it really had an effect on me. But now let me tell you a story about my father. My father, when I was growing up, couldn't use his name, had to change it, because he wasn't allowed to stay in hotels in the South when he traveled. He wasn't allowed to keep his identity, so he had to pretend to be somebody else. He had to lose his Jewishness. That's oppressive. That's prejudice.
No one is saying, see, what I want us to walk away with truth tonight. No spin, just truth. So, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. Were you saying, and I'm sorry, for Jon Stewart to be untouchable because he's Jewish, as if the Jews are an oppressed minority in America? Give me a break. That is not the case. The Jews have a lot of influence in America. Were you saying that?
I was saying that Jon Stewart, the man, in the totality of his experiences, including the fact that he's Jewish, is not a subject of oppression.
Okay.
That doesn't mean another Jewish man can't be oppressed.
See, here's where I want to...
And that's important.
Here's where I want to transcend the story of Rick Sanchez and make this a broader, values-based discussion. You see, I think you were saying that. That's my reading of it. I know that you feel uncomfortable acknowledging that because of how much you've suffered for saying it. But there's nothing anti-Semitic in saying that at all. The Jews, thank God, have not suffered dramatically in America. Period. It is a historical fact. There has been anti-Semitism. There has been prejudice. But by and large, America is a beautiful, wondrous country that has allowed us to flourish. Now, when I say that, my African-American friends, some of whom are here in this room, would probably take objection. What? America? Wondrous? Wonderful country? That wasn't our experience. True. Absolutely true. I was the first ever white radio host and America's oldest, most respected, morning host, America's oldest, most respected black radio station, 1600 AM, WWRL. And me and Peter Noel were paired together. And I would speak of America in the most glowing terms because I'm a Jew. And my God, this country defeated Hitler. This country liberated the camps. This country took my grandfather in through Ellis Island. Like you spoke before about Cuba, that's why I say I stand corrected. I am very grateful to America. It's just that I don't feel like a second-class citizen. I'm fully American, thank God. And fully Jewish. And that's another beautiful thing about America, that you could be both without compromising either. But we have not had a history of oppression here. So for you to say, I'm sorry, you were wrong that Jon Stewart is a bigot, he's not. And you're wrong that Jon Stewart is prejudicial. You already admitted as much. You said it was your insecurity that said that, and you couldn't stand the heat of the kitchen. Then you were going to be criticized in the media. Get out of the media, Rick. You can't have it both ways. I want attention, that's only positive. Sorry, America, it's about the First Amendment. People can say whatever the hell they want. And if they say you're a jerk, they have a right to say it. And if you can't stand it, go and live a quiet life in New Jersey somewhere, and no one will hear of you, and then you'll be on the Sopranos one day. But I think you were saying that the Jews have not suffered, and that's when I heard this. That's when I decided that I felt very bad for you, and you had been mistreated because there was nothing wrong with the statement. If someone were to say, the Jews have been successful in America. Is that anti-Semitic? Come on, let's not be ridiculous. Of course not. If someone were to say, the Jews have become a wealthy community, think, oh, well, it's not true. There are plenty of poor Jews. But by and large, the Jews have reached high echelons in American society. That's not anti-Semitic. It's when you attach it to a nefarious design for like world domination, that there's some sort of conspiracy, that's when it's anti-Semitic.
And if you believe it.
Right. Say it, believe it. But were you saying that? That's what I'm asking. Were you saying, come on, Jon Stewart is part of this Jewish cabal that controls CNN, that doesn't let Hispanics like me host primetime shows?
Listen,
were you saying that?
No, not only was I not saying it, I didn't say it. It's not in the context. It's not there literally, and I want everyone to go home tonight and listen to the conversation and hear what I said. And I'm not saying that I was eloquent. I wasn't. I was sloppy. But
you were saying you can't hide behind his Jewishness because the Jews have not really suffered in America.
I was saying he shouldn't.
Is that true?
Don't give me this.
So then stand by your comment.
That's what I said. But it's not my place to be deciding who's been oppressed and who hasn't been oppressed.
Well, I mean,
and I should
fair enough,
fair
enough, and it was interesting.
And assured.
No, fair enough. Me and Peter Noel, I remember in 1600 WWL, we never wanted to get into a debate of which nation had suffered more, African Americans or Jews. The fact is that I had a lifelong closeness to the African American community, and it's not based on oppression, shared history of oppression. It's based on a shared history of spiritual destiny. I love the spirituality of that community. I love its emphasis on community, on family. I love that Martin Luther King brought my prophets, the Hebrew prophets that were being forgotten by the world. He brought them to life. I'm grateful to him. My Bible, my religion came to life through an African American Christian preacher who changed America using the words of the Jewish people. Yesterday, to see Janet Napolitano read from the book of Isaiah in Tucson was incredible. And she was speaking about Jerusalem, bring peace to Jerusalem. It was incredible to watch that. I was grateful to her. Because that's the legacy of my people. But I see nothing wrong in your saying that the Jews have been prosperous in America. I see nothing wrong with that. And if we can't make statements like that, then we're becoming an oppressive society that is looking to be offended constantly. And that's why I think there isn't a big crowd tonight. As far as I know, most Jews were not really offended by what you said. Some Jews were, because they are afraid that they are going to be accused that the Jews control this and that. Marlon Brando made some comment to that effect. That's why it's so important that you clarify it. I don't think you were dismissing Jewish suffering. You were asked a second later. He then said to you, the Jews have a history of oppression. No? And what did you say?
I said, absolutely.
Your exact answer was no question about that. Mm-hmm. You didn't deny historical Jewish suffering. You just said, in America, they've been prosperous. So why won't you stand by the comment, Rick?
I do stand by the comment. I do stand by the comment. And I believe it's your place as a rabbi to decipher it. It's almost like I don't want to get in your way. You have.
I can't put words in your mouth. But I do want you to clarify it. So we can move on to the next thing. So what exactly were you saying?
I said exactly what I said just moments ago. That in fact, Jon Stewart, in his totality, including his experiences and his religion, cannot use that as an excuse for comparing himself in that moment to a Hispanic or someone who just got off the boat the day before. That was my point.
Okay. Fair enough. So now, if a Jewish individual wants to challenge you on that, they may want to challenge me and say, Shmuley, I'm sorry, you're ignorant of American history. There were the following anti-Semitic incidents. That's their prerogative, and that's the beauty of America. There are Jews who may feel that anti-Semitism is rampant, and that any moment it's going to blow up. I know I have Jewish friends who do feel that way. I do not subscribe to that theory. I think that anti-Semitism is rife in Britain, unfortunately, where I lived for 11 years. I saw it. I was attacked walking home from my student center, and the guy was prosecuted. He got a 30. There is anti-Semitism, but I don't believe it's institutionalized in this country. That's what I'm trying to say. Dare I say it to all my African American friends who are here this evening? I don't believe that there is institutionalized racism in the United States anymore. There was. I think we are purged of it. It doesn't mean that our hearts are purged of racism. It doesn't mean there are individual racists.
I went to Minnesota to do a story on an organization that was teaching children to hate Jews through rock and roll. And they were praising Hitler, and they were saying all kinds of horrible things. And the guy said to me, while I was interviewing him, you, for marrying a white woman, are a race mixer, and you are part of the Jew media. That's what he said to me.
Okay, what is this man's following? The 20 people that you put on the air? What is his following?
No.
I'm not belittling, I'm not saying that the ADL is not important. It's very important. I greatly respect Abe Foxman. I'm not saying that the Simon Wiesenthal Center is not important. Fighting it is very important. What I am saying is it's not institutionalized. I do not believe the American people are anti-Semitic. I do not believe the American people are racist. It's a debate I have with my African American friends all the time. A great many of them say, what are you talking about? And just give it a chance and it'll all explode. I think that the election of Obama